When Christy secured her first ever rental on her own, she was excited. It was a big move, but she didn't expect what was to come. A rogue landlord causing her some sleepless nights. Then he took it to the next level.
He's the landlord you hope you'll never encounter.
He thinks that he is the law. He thinks he can make the rules and set the terms, and I'm like, no.
Peter Chen, Reece D'Alessandro from A Current Affair. We'd like to ask you a few questions.
Peter Chen is making a mozza off these substandard rentals and the odd side hustle.
And he's like, well, I'm gonna take your car. And I was like, that's crazy.
Peter, did you sell one of your tenants' cars?
There was never a bond clean done. This was my first time renting alone. I wasn't sure what to look for. I was like, okay, this is a new experience.
Christy Schweitzer regrets the day she moved in to this house of horrors at Coorparoo in Brisbane's east.
There was mould in the bathroom, in the paint. The whole structure of the building was not right. And there was exposed wires, a ceiling fan hanging by those wires.
Broken asbestos underneath her old bedroom, stumps that have fallen away from the floor. Not to mention, she says, the countless people who'd come at night interrogating her about the tenant who lived there beforehand.
I'm 5'1" and I'm terrified of these people, and the landlord wasn't doing anything. He actually became one of those people.
And she claims the problems started the moment she moved in.
He would stop in and say, oh, hi, how's it going? Come by mine at some point and make me dinner. Like, he'd make little comments like that. He'd try to give me a hug or like touch my face or head, and was really creepy, weird dude. And I lived alone, so I was like, okay, this is inappropriate.
She claims maintenance requests on the oven and hot water system were ignored for over 12 months before Peter tried to increase the rent via text message.
I responded, can we discuss this, because none of the things have been fixed. After that, he became hostile. He became like really aggressive, no longer making creepy comments, just straight up being like, you owe me this money, give me this money or I'm gonna evict you.
Also claiming he often turned up unannounced and invited himself in.
At one point he came into my house, sat down and then just continued to follow me around my kitchen, all this sort of stuff, and was like, oh, you have to do this. You don't know anything. You don't talk to me. You're a little girl, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was like, I'm not a little girl. That's ridiculous.
At her wit's end, Christy moved out, taking curtains she'd purchased with her. Curtains Peter claimed should have been left behind.
You took all the curtains for the windows. Please let me know how you want to replace them.
There was no curtains when I moved in. I paid for my own.
For the missing drapes, she says Peter refused to return her bond, so she complained to the Residential Tenancies Authority.
RTA is not your mum. I'll reject the bond you claim now, and I will list your behaviour in the tenants database.
Christy was eventually successful and got her bond back. The only thing left was her car, parked on a public street next to the rental, needing repairs.
We had an oil leak. We were going to fix the oil leak and put Rego back on it, move it back to my mum's house.
But before she could return, neighbours spotted a tow truck taking it away. It wound up in a wrecking yard, smashed. Peter admitting to Christy it was him who'd arranged the pickup.
You left an unregistered car in front of my property. I called the tow truck to tow it away. The door was unlocked, full of rubbish, and the car, it stinks.
He said it was unlocked. It was not unlocked. He just sort of took it, and I was like, how is that possible?
We find Peter at one of his other properties around the corner, where he's also renting out cars using the visitor parking and the street as a car yard.
Peter, did you sell one of your tenants' cars? Is that true?
I don't know if I have any problem with you.
She also says you were turning up unannounced, you refused to do maintenance, and then you tried to jack the rent up. What sort of a landlord does that make you, Peter? You've got nothing to say for yourself? She also says you threatened to blacklist her. She says that you say you wanted her to come over and cook you dinner, but she refused. Is that why you blacklisted her? No? So much fun. You think the way you've treated this young lady is so much fun?
Were you scared of him?
At one point I was turning my lights off, I was tiptoeing around my house, checking windows, making sure he wasn't in my driveway or any of that.
Why you make up with me?
I'm not making anything up. This is what she's telling us. Do you deny it?
Why did you want to speak with us today?
I decided to speak with you guys just because I don't want this happening again. Peter told me himself that people during this rental crisis, they're desperate, they'll take anything.
She claims you justified your behaviour, Peter, by saying renters are desperate at the moment. Is that right? Do you think that's fair?
I'm not scared of you anymore, and I hope you never do this again. You don't deserve to be a landlord.
You've got to follow the rules, Peter.
You really feel for her, don't you? And police are continuing to investigate what happened to Christie's Commodore.